is up? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful day. Back here with some more Resident Evil 0 gameplay for you. And today I'm going to be talking about a lot about Resident Evil 0 in terms of the movie slash remake. Obviously there was an announcement of Resident Evil 0's live action adaptation in terms of a movie was coming, as well as Resident Evil 0 being a high possibility of the next remake coming from Capcom. It is confirmed that Capcom is doing more Resident Evil remakes. We just don't know 100% which one it is, but a lot of people seem to point out that Resident Evil 0 is going to be the next one. And I'll be honest, kind of like this chopper crashing here, I'm really not enthusiastic too much for either one. Maybe one a lot less than the other, but this kind of just came at me like, it's probably why it took a little while to get to it, the topic, because this wasn't known about a week ago. But yeah, so if you are new to this channel, or maybe you just haven't heard me say it before, I'll start with the movie part, because I think that's the part that a lot of people can at least understand, emphasize where I'm going with this. I am not a big fan of video game live adaptations in movies or shows or whatnot. I'm not the biggest, craziest fan of any of that stuff. And the reason why is simple. Because no matter how good they may be, they're always going to be lesser, watered-down versions of their original material from the video games. Because in terms of Resident Evil, look at its track record. Like, we've had, I don't know, I think like 8 movies, I believe now. I could be wrong, but too many at this point, and they're all terrible. You know how many minutes I've seen of all the live-action Resident Evil movies, guys? Maybe 10 minutes combined. That is how I do not care. And so when I hear this, I'm like, how many times do we have to do this over and over and over again? I mean, hell, I barely have watched any of the CGI movies. The only reason why I saw Death Island from its complete entirety was because I was happy to see Jill come back after 15 years of missing in action. But yeah, so live action is even worse. I don't want to see a watered down version of something that I'd rather be playing a game. I'd rather be playing Resident Evil, not watching Resident Evil. That's just me personally. I'm a gamer more than a movie person. Not that I don't like movies or shows, I do, but I'm more of a video game person. If my mom would call me a video idiot. So when I hear that they're going to do a live adaptation of Resident Evil 0 and they're going to be more faithful, what does that mean? Because let's just be honest. Even if you follow the exact story of Resident Evil 0 for beat to beat for the movie, why would I want to watch that? Alright? I'm sorry, but the things you do in a video game don't translate well to a movie. Like, I don't want to watch Rebecca and Billy wander around aimlessly, whether in this case on a train or wherever they may be, being like, I don't have enough inventory space to hold this item, or I can't find the keys to get in this door, or I need this object to make this thing work. Like, that doesn't translate well towards a movie, and then having them do that for the entirety. It's just not really fun from a movie watching standpoint. That's why I always laugh when I say faithfulness, because what does that really mean? In order to make the movie entertaining, you're going to have to take liberties against how the game is. And that's unfortunately the problem a lot of people have, is that they think these things are just taking way too many liberties, and there's never a perfect ground. But my thing is, if this is now the 9th movie they've been making, they still haven't found that perfect mix. I just, at this point, as I said, I'd rather play Resident Evil than watch Resident Evil. That's just all I'm saying. Maybe you guys have a lot more optimism than me, and more power to you, but when it comes to live action movies, I've given up hope, lost it, over a decade plus ago. Now, could they do maybe, I don't know, like an anime show or something like that? Yeah, I'd give them a chance, but at the end of the day, in terms of live action things, and this is not just for Resident Evil, it's for anything. It's like enough is enough, because now I'm hearing they're doing things like they're doing another live action, Gundam movie, and it's like, enough is enough. Like, please stop this, pull the plug now, or as Rocky IV always said, throw the damn towel. But that's the movie perspective. I think a lot of us can understand that. But I also said I wasn't very enthusiastic of the possibility that Resident Evil 0 Remake might be the next remake we get. Now, let me state this right from the get-go. It is not because I don't like Resident Evil 0. Granted, I'll be honest, it's not one of my favorite Resident Evil titles of the whole main line. It'd probably be more at the bottom, but honestly, just a little truth about me, there's not a major mainline Resident Evil game that I hate or even dislike in the slightest. Every one some I love a lot more than others, but every one I find enjoyment out of. some more than others, as I said, but that has nothing to do with my non-enthusiasm with Resident Evil 0 Remake. In fact, it's more kind of confusion. In fact, honestly, it really has nothing to do with Resident Evil 0, honestly, where my lack of enthusiasm comes from. My biggest problem is, why is Resident Evil 0 the next remake of all Resident Evil games? That's where my confusion comes from, because I look at it like this. So Capcom started their whole remake thing on the RE engine with Resident Evil 2 Remake, and it makes sense because obviously about 2 decades earlier they did Resident Evil Remake. So on the RE engine back in 2019 they remade Resident Evil 2 Remake, and obviously it was the right choice, because as of me doing this video, I believe Resident Evil Remake, the second one, RE2 Remake, is right below Resident Evil 5 as the all-time most sold Resident Evil game, and it's going to surpass it sometime this year. Maybe even this quarter, but we'll see. Then they went to Resident Evil 3 Remake, which, well, it did sold decently enough. It's going to be around 10 million units probably by the end of this year as well. It obviously didn't get the reception of RE2 Remake. So at that point, a lot of people were wondering, well, what's going to be next remake? And I remember a lot of people say, oh, well, they got to do Code Veronica. Code Veronica, that's the next one chronologically in the story. Well, that's not where they went. They went where the money is, and that is RE4 Remake. And it makes sense because Resident Evil 4 Remake was going to sell a ridiculous amount. Not to mention, it already has the notion of being one of the all-time great games, the original Resident Evil 4, period. So going straight to that makes perfect sense. Yeah, maybe not from a story standpoint. I know people think Code Veronica deserved it more, and it did. But Resident Evil 4 Remake is going to sell a whole lot more. And since it is the fastest selling Resident Evil title to date, and by the time it gets to its second anniversary, it's probably going to be over 10 million units or around it, it was definitely the right call. So from that standpoint, obviously Capcom was going for what's going to make them more money. And definitely I can't argue with the results. So then we get to the next remake, and I thought, hey, it's obviously got to be Resident Evil 5 Remake. I mean, remaking a game that has held the title as the most sold Resident Evil title game, I mean, it just makes perfect sense. Like, why would you not try to do that? And I know there's a lot of notion of, oh, maybe they can remake Resident Evil 1. I've already made my notions about that from last year. And then, obviously, Code Veronica was still an option. But my problem with those, and which is ultimately my problem with Resident Evil 0, is, okay, you remake Resident Evil 2. You remake Resident Evil 3. You remake Resident Evil 4. Why are you going backwards then? And I mean backwards. Really backwards. That's why I said if you were going to remake Resident Evil 3, your next one, it had to be Code Veronica at a point because it makes sense chronologically. But since you went from 3 to 4, it just seemed more likely that you're just skipping that, because why are you going to go back? It's just going to make little sense. And for newer fans who don't understand the timeline or just jumping into Resident Evil right now, they're going to be more confused than ever. Like, what the hell? Like, why are we going back? In this case, going really back to the original, the first one in the timeline. So, for me personally, that's my biggest reason why I'm like kind of a little just unenthusiastic or just weirded about it. Like, why would you not start? Why would you chase the money and then be like, you know what? Now we're going to go all the way back to 0. It's just really weird, if you get my drift. So I'm really confused by Capcom at this point. And it makes me more wondering if they're really going to go all out with this, or is it going to be more like, an RE3 remake job where they don't take it as longly developed or serious. So I'm wondering that as well. So, because they're kind of going to look at, hey, RE3 didn't get a great reception, but still it sold a lot of copies, and we didn't go all out with that, so maybe we could possibly get away with that. And I'm just speculating. I don't know, guys. Who knows? Maybe they will go all out like they did with Resident Evil 4. But ultimately, though, I do want to end a more positive note on RE0 Remake, if that is the next remake, because honestly, there are things I would like to see improved upon it. I know a lot of people always talk about the whole inventory system and the duo thing with Billy and Rebecca, and I'm not going to touch too much on that. That one is apparent. But I'd actually like to see them put a little bit more emphasis on the other STARS members. I made a video about this about a year or two ago, talking about how I wish we learned more about the STARS members from Resident Evil 0 and 1, and have some way where we can have more interactions with them and even maybe learn a little bit more about them. And also, another thing they could possibly do is, let the whole fate of Billy Cone be more apparent. Because there's a whole divided notion of what really happened to him. Did he just wander out in the forest and die? Is he still alive to this day? Maybe give a little bit more feedback upon that, because a lot of people have been really curious about that. So I don't want to get the notion that, oh, I wouldn't be excited to play Resident Evil 0 Remake if it came out. Trust me, if it came out today, you bet your ass would be walking to that office, picking that thing up and trying out, seeing what it's got to offer and stuff. But it's just more weirded out. Like, they didn't go straight towards 5. They've been chasing the money the whole time, which makes sense from a business standpoint. And then they're just like, hey, if this is to be believed that 0 is the next remake, it's just really weird. And why now, of all times? Just the timing and place of it is just kind of confusing to me. But at the end of the day, as I always like to say, that is my opinion. I want to hear your guys' opinion. Are you enthusiastic and excited for a live-action Resident Evil 0 movie? Do you think maybe them doing a movie and them doing the remake, maybe it's kind of like a duo marketing thing, possibly, why they're doing both of them around the same time or something like that? Or do you think they're just, coincidence? Are you excited for the movie, even though they've had so many botches in the past 2+ decades? And are you excited for Resident Evil 0 possibly being the next remake? Is that something you wanted to see? Are you confused about why they're doing it now when they've already gone forward in timeline, now they're going backwards? Is this confusion going to help the game or maybe hurt it? Or are you someone just like, I've always liked Resident Evil 0 and I'd like to see what a remake can do to enhance it? Let me know that in the comment section down below. But thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this video, and hopefully I can see you guys back in the next one. Thanks, and I'll see you all later. Peace.